So I have a new job. Apparently, I will appear in any science fiction program with the name Star in the title. So if you want to make up a science fiction show like Star Bratwurst, Star Schnitzel, doesn't matter, I will be in the show. This is Robert Picardo for ScifinewsDE, and I just want to tell you that evil gets an upgrade. Es freut mich sehr, die deutsche Star Trek-Fans wieder zu begrüßen. Ich heiße Marina Sirtis. Und ich kann ein bisschen Deutsch sprechen. How do you do? It's nice to see you again. Those of you that I've seen before and those of you that I'm seeing for the first time, it's nice to see you. I had a wonderful letter. I just came visiting, I was visiting my roommate from college, who is a professor of art history at the University of Oslo. He has lived in Europe for 30 years. He's married and has 2 children. And we got together for the first time in a very long time in Rome, where he is now teaching. And he speaks fluent German, as among probably 5 other languages. And he wrote a very funny letter, which I was supposed to read tonight, which I left in the taxi cab. Explaining that Star Trek had ruined his old friend because I was now so positive and hopeful about the future, and I was no longer the cynical, unpleasant guy he used to love. And it was very funny. He wrote it and went on at great length about how Star Trek has changed me and made me a more optimistic, hopeful, pleasant human being, and he just didn't care for me anymore. But unfortunately, the taxi driver in Rome is laughing at it right now, assuming he speaks German, and I don't have it with me. I'm very sorry. So what you have to do is, if you get on the internet about this show, talk about how funny the letter was so that I don't get in trouble and have to tell him that I lost it. Right before I came to Europe, about 8 days ago, I did the season finale, the season 4 finale of Stargate Atlantis. I appear in a couple of episodes in season 4 and several in season 3 that I understand you haven't seen yet. It's about to premiere. So I have a new job. Apparently, I will appear in any science fiction program with the name Star in the title. So if you want to make up a science fiction show like Star Bratwurst, Star Schnitzel, doesn't matter, I will be in the show. And I will play a guy who's basically unpleasant, but you grow to like in spite of yourself eventually. I also appeared on, it hasn't aired yet, but I did an episode of CSI New York with my old friend Joe Dante, who's a director that I've worked with probably 15 times. And out of the 15 times, I have always played characters that are humorous, even when I've done a movie like The Howling for Joe Dante, which is basically a horror movie and a drama, there's always a lot of tongue-in-cheek humor. But CSI has no sense of humor at all. So this is the first time I've ever worked for Joe Dante where I had no sense of humor. I don't say anything remotely funny. I'm dead serious, and I had to limit all of my humorous remarks to between takes. Try to make the cast laugh. But I wouldn't say CSI is necessarily a fun show to work on. You know, a lot of dead bodies and stuff like that. Gets a little old after a while, but it's a very good show, and I'm happy to be on it. Now I want to be on CSI New York, CSI, no, I've been on CSI New York. I'm going to be on CSI Vegas, and CSI, of course I want to be on any CSI program that has the word star in the title. And I also did an episode of a new show called The Women's Murder Club, which is sort of a comedy thriller new show about a group of women who solve murders. And that will premiere this fall on American television, and probably, if it's successful, you'll see it next year. and I play the secret killer. But I'll tell you now, but you'll forget. A year from now, you won't remember. I'll be asking if you have questions shortly. I hope you do, because if you don't have questions, then I'm forced to ask myself questions. And sometimes I refuse to answer them because I find them too personal. And sometimes I get in kind of an argument with myself, and it's a little embarrassing. So hopefully, if you ask questions, I understand German quite well. My vocabulary is weak, so I'm sorry I'm not speaking more German, but if you put me on the spot, I may try to speak a little more later. In fact, what I thought I might do is sing a tiny bit of German for you. I may have to check my cheat sheet, though. I know it. This is not German, it's really Italian, but listen carefully, because there is a surprise coming up. La donna immobile, qual più mal vento, muta d'argento e di pensiero, sempre un amabile, leggiadro viso, impianto in riso e menzognero. La donna immobile, qual più mal vento, muta d'argento di pensier di pensier. Here's the surprise part. Tu wart, ich verstehe Sie, Sie sind Vulkanier, Sie müssten 7 Jahre ohne Auskommen. Paris versuchen Sie, zu Land ein Hypospray. Ich gab ein Zeichen Ihnen, euer Ziel ist sein Hinterteil. Hormonabtoben, Synapsen glichen, alles ist so unlogisch. I was off, sorry. Unlogisch. Unlogisch. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. That is the worst German translation you'll ever hear. I guess they had to put it out, the words out of order just to try to match my lips a little bit better. But I thank Philip. Philip got me the translation so that I could surprise you. Thank you very much. I also put it on my second CD, so there is a little bit of German singing on Extreme Bob, if you want to hear me singing as you just did in German. And I can't imagine why you'd want to hear it again. But if you did, it's on the CD.
Much more better than the German dubbing.
The German dubbing, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
For you. Oh.
But I like his voice. I mean, I like his speaking voice. The man who dubs me in German is quite good, I think. I met the last time I went to a convention in Italy, and I'm going to Italy tomorrow, but the last time I went, I met the Italian actor who dubs me. And he said to me, please, could you sometimes not talk so fast? Who has the first question? It's a nice small room, so I'll hear you no matter where you are. If you don't have a question, it's okay. But if you do, it would be great. Oh, yes, you may ask. Absolutely.
At eBay, there are auctions of costumes, and they have a lot of costumes of the actors. So how often you got a new costume? Each season one or off?
The costumes can be from any season. In fact, I just met a German collector named Martin. He's actually a dealer, I think. Martin, and I can't remember his last name. But he bought one of my costumes on eBay. And he said it had a big tear in it from here all the way down there. And I said, I remember that day. The costumes were very tight. And one day I dropped something on the set, and I bent over to pick it, and I tore it up to here. You could see everything right up to here. So and then they retired that costume because they figured out it was too tight for me. So there was no point to, to fix it. So he got the one that was the most embarrassing day for me on the set. We had an undergarment underneath the other costume, the outer costume. There was the thing with the little turtleneck, but it snapped under your crotch. It's not a very comfortable thing for a man to wear. I mean, women it might be okay, but I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I don't like something that snaps under my crotch. I don't like the sound of it. I just don't like the whole feeling of it. So, but anyway, those years are behind me now. The other terrible thing about being on Star Trek is you didn't have any pockets for 7 years. 7 years, no pockets. You know what that means? If we're about to roll and someone has handed you a mint and you don't, and then they roll the camera and you don't want to eat it because you'll be chewing on camera, you have no place to put this. There's no place to put it. I ate a phone number once. And I would hide things in my sleeves. I'd put pencils and stuff up my sleeves. But then once in a while, if I gestured, they would fly out and hit one of the other actors in the head. There was literally no place to put anything. And Star Trek sets, you can't hide. They're very open and frequently, and there's really no place to hide anything. So that was the toughest thing about the show, was right when they were about to roll, if you caught, even if you had your script, you were checking a line, you really had to hunt quickly. And there was one take where you could see my script in the background of the scene. They made me reshoot it because they noticed in dailies. They didn't see it while we were doing it, but way in the background of the scene, you could see my script pages, sort of half hidden. So frequently, if something that doesn't belong in the 24th century, for example, a 20th century Star Trek script that says Voyager on the front, we had to do it again. But I will sing again in just a few moments. I wondered if there are any other questions about either what I've been doing that you're not aware of. For those of you who don't know, I play a recurring character on Stargate named Richard Woolsey. He started out as kind of a bad guy, but now they've sort of rehabilitated me. They've made me a little nicer. He's still, I wouldn't call him a pleasant guy, and he doesn't have very good people skills, but he means well. He's kind of a bureaucrat, and he annoys the military command that run the show. Beau Bridges' character, for example, I annoy, and now they've spun me over to Stargate Atlantis. But anyway, he's basically the guy who comes in and tries to tell the guys who really know what they're doing that they're doing it wrong, and then it turns out that he's wrong. He's like any bureaucrat. But it's been fun to do it. I've gotten to know both casts, and the character has really developed. They've given me more interesting things to do. As I said, I started out as a bad guy. Now they've given me a conscience, and they've even given me some personality quirks. For example, he's a bit of a coward, we found out. He talks a big game when he's in the conference room, but if you put him in the action, he's not happy to be there, and not what you would call heroic. So it is fun to make fun of bureaucrats who try to run wars, although I won't mention any of them I know in our government. Yes? The question is, how did I get the role in Stargate? They did indeed. The producers offered me the first guest star that I did. If you remember, the character Terrell Rothery played the Doctor, actually, ironically enough. The Doctor that she played on SG-1, her character was killed off in a very surprising episode. And my character, Richard Woolsey, was sent in to assign blame. He was basically sent in to find out what went wrong, who made the bad decision, and why this tragedy happened. So I was sent in there really to stir things up and make someone pay for what had gone wrong. And then in the second episode, the reason they had me back, I think, is because they not only liked what I did in the show, the producers seemed to like me. They'd been a fan of me from Star Trek, but once they met me and decided I was not nearly as arrogant and obnoxious as the holographic Doctor, they had me back, and they've treated me very well. I'm friends with all of the writer-producers, especially Joe Malazzi and his partner Paul Muley, and they've written progressively more interesting things for me to do. as Richard Woolsey, and I love to go back up there. I guess I set my record last season because I was on, I think, 3 SG-1s and 4 Atlantises over the course of just a few months. So, but they've assured me that I'll be back after this finale to season 4 that I was just in, which is a big surprise, but I can't tell you. But you guys haven't even seen season 3, so, you know, if I told you now, you'd forget anyway. But what else have I done recently? There's a cartoon that I don't know whether or not you get here, and also you guys are probably too old for it anyway. A very popular cartoon with teenage boys called Ben 10 in the United States. Very popular. Well, we did a live-action movie of it for the Cartoon Network. And Ben 10 is a 10-year-old boy who can turn into 10 different aliens in order to get out of trouble and to help people that are in trouble. It's a little like the sort of the preteen version of the Fantastic Four. And the only person who knows the secret is his grandfather. Well, in the movie version, his grandfather is played by Lee Majors, who was a big television star in the 70s, the $6 Million Man, The Fall Guy. And I play his middle school principal. So I am a figure at his school who he's afraid of and doesn't like, and then it turns out that I'm a secret alien hunter just like he is. So it was cute and fun to work on. And I also recently did a movie in New York called Driven. And William Devane, who I worked with on Stargate, who played the president on Stargate, is also in that. So I've been doing a number of different things. I've been asked to do a play with Denise Crosby, who you may have heard of, and another popular science fiction actress, Claudia Christian. So we're mulling that over. So hopefully I'll be working with both those ladies on stage in the spring of next year. Anyway, questions? Further questions?